Good afternoon, good morning, good day to all. Welcome to Xillio. Welcome to our today's webinar, Understanding the Migration Streets. So welcome everybody. My name is Ruud de Wolf in Dutch or Rudy in English. I am here today with Rich Owens. Rich, can you do a short intro of yourself, please?
Absolutely, Ruth. Thank you so much. So Rich Owens, I'm the Director of Global Solution Engineering here over at Xillio. Come with about 2 decades worth of advanced IT experience across a plethora of different technologies, and excited to share with you a little bit about migration streets today and our product and solution for content migration and modernization.
It's a mouthful. Thank you very much.
All right.
And then me, Ruud de Wolf, Rudy, global sales. So I start my day in Australia, New Zealand, Australia, and end up somewhere in Canada, Alaska, and everything in between. With Xillio over 5.5 years, and as an oldie in the industry, over 30 years of experience in the content space. So that's me. Let's start our webinar. So what are we actually going to learn today about migration streets? We will go into the core concepts. What do we mean with this? What's the background of this whole? More important, what is the strategic importance? And understanding the key phases that we go through. And in the end, there's business value to gain. And what is that? So that's the topics of today. That's what you're going to take away from today, hopefully. A few housekeeping topics. This webinar is recorded and we will share it afterwards together with the presentation after the session. And if you have questions, and please make it interactive. If you have questions, please use them, put them in chat. We have a team available that will answer those questions. I will look into that myself as well. And after the session, we will really appreciate filling out a survey so that we can actually learn from the sessions and improve on that. In the end, we want to give you a good experience after all. So Xillio, welcome to Xillio. Who are we? Working out of this beautiful old banking building. I think it's somewhere built in the 1800s or something, somewhere between 1800 and 1900. And over 2 decades, almost 22 years now, we've been the trusted partner of organizations around the globe in content and data migrations. And over these years, we consistently demonstrated our expertise in complex data migration projects. And we've earned the title that these guys always deliver. We see that in multiple quotes from clients. We see that really as feedback after projects that we always deliver. So really proud of working in this industry for so long and earn the trust. Okay. What are we going to do today? The migration streets. Well, the background and the idea about migration streets is actually coming from all the conversations, the early conversation that we have with prospects thinking about a legacy migration. And they worry a lot. They have all these pitfalls that they see. They have no idea where to start. And basically they're starting from scratch. And obviously, we've been working in the industry for so long and have been involved in hundreds, maybe even thousands of projects in this last 22 years. And so we have a wealth of best practices and lessons learned. And we want to share that with you. And in the end, we put that into our product. And that is what we're going to talk about today. And Rich is very capable of telling you everything about that. So over to you, Rich.
Thank you so much. So as mentioned before, we do want to keep this as interactive as possible. Feel free to make a comment, conversation, ask any questions throughout this engagement. You're not going to hurt our feelings if you stop and ask us to talk more. So, really excited to come over and talk about how we've taken that 2 decades worth of experience to address some of the common migration challenges we see across the enterprise space, right? And what are those challenges? Oftentimes we see a lot of our customers have experienced historically a high rate of failure. About 60% of migration projects fail due to a variety of different complexities and challenges. Some of the common issues you see is a lack of planning, not understanding the context and the content itself that has to come through and be migrated, a lot of ad hoc approach or custom scripting or migrations to get out of some of these legacy ECMs. Some of the systems are so old or deprecated, or maybe the people that manage them are no longer there. And it creates a lot of headaches and challenges for our customers. So what happens with a lot of these ad hoc approaches is that many times they feel like they're starting from scratch. So they often require unique connectors to come over and access some of these legacy platforms, a lot of manual mapping for any of the metadata constructs to be able to prepare and massage and transform the data before moving that content into a new ECM platform. There's unexpected challenges. Some of these ad hoc approaches could lead to all kinds of technical difficulties, such as maybe a dependency that we weren't aware of that an app needs for particular repositories. Maybe part of a business process requires a manual link that is no longer there. Oftentimes, these complexities can add to delays in the timeline as well as budget overruns. Not to mention that the compliance headaches. If you don't have full auditability and visibility and reporting of these migrations, it can lead to a lot of risk and loss of confidence as well as business disruption. So what we've done after years and years and years of coming through and performing a plethora of different migrations from tons of different legacy content platforms, we've come with an idea of building what we call migration streets. And what does that mean? They're pre-built expert design migration routes between popular content systems. And it doesn't matter if it's the OpenText CS or to SharePoint Online, or we see a lot of customers go all the way to HP Trim that are adopting OpenText Cloud. Our streets really are geared around accelerating the journey securely, reliably, and with less effort, but with a key differentiator. We call it a street, not a highway, because it does need to be customized and tailored to your business and your business needs. So what does this mean? The different components that we have within our migration streets and these routes and best practices include pre-built migration routes, understanding what the templatized pathways from your source and your targets based off of our years of API integration and our abstraction layer in between of a unified content store that allows you to quickly point from where you're coming from and where you're going to, and the connectors that are associated to securely transfer and access any of the transformation and perform these data transformations in migrations during the project itself, as well as some predefined understanding of metadata mapping. So a lot of times you need to massage the data. It might be, I need to change some of the characters that are in my naming schema. I might need to decrease the size of my file name structure. I might want to make sure I add additional metadata to the concept and construct so that way that my adoption of AI can have some more intelligence and understanding of maybe the departments that they're in. Maybe it's a historical reference. Maybe it's just understanding that I don't want to move the same version. Maybe you need deduplication. Those are the kinds of things from transformation that are part of this process, as well as from a governance and validation. We've done a ton of work with governments around the world, especially over around highly regulated required auditability throughout the project so that there is confidence and comfort that none of the data is left on-prem, none of the things have any sort of challenges with Delta migrations if you're dealing with live constructs, as well as just feeling comfortable that you're cleaning house before you move instead of bringing garbage over. So what that means, we map it into the technical aspect, is we have pre-configured pathways using our connectors and the APIs that we've refined and matured across the decades. We're able to come through from a migration street, have those routes seamlessly connected to those legacy systems using our abstraction in between, and then pointing to your source, your destination targets without a ton of custom coding. Part of that is that we test those mappings. Those tested data mappings allow for us to say, okay, we know that OpenText on-prem server has a particular file structure, and there are patterns that we need to make sure that we reflect in order for SharePoint Online to adopt it well. Those mappings between your content in those platforms are paramount to success, and having that framework already can really help drive and accelerate what that means. The smart transformation rules, like I mentioned before, about what do we need to automate our data conversion, any sort of metadata enhancement and massaging to either be AI ready, prepare, or just have a corresponding valuable mapping into the new ECM platform so that you're not just using SharePoint like a glorified network drive. And last but not least, those compliance checks. So full visibility, full auditability, and full confidence that our platform is 2701 ISO certified. So we've got the security in place and we can build that comfort for all aspects of the team and business, that the migration is going to minimize disruption while doing so securely. And so like I mentioned before, we call it a street, not a highway. And I kind of think of it like a Goldilocks zone, right? Highways force everyone to go the same way. You get traffic jams. No two business cases are exactly the same. So why should every migration be treated and be forced along a single path? Highway approach oftentimes can work if you're doing a very simple lift and shift, maybe a network file share to just an archival. But most of the time, customers really want to be able to take advantage of the gold of their content, especially in the era of AI preparation, Copilot, and other LLM adoptions. You need to have that context and massage to truly refine that ETL information to support in the cloud. And you can't just treat every migration the same. In the same light, you don't want a trail where you're doing that ad hoc, tailored custom migrations, a lot of coding, a lot of risk. It can be a little bit of a huge challenge and risk if you're trying to do it without a structured capability built into it. So our answer is just right is the migration street. We're building that scaffolding and that framework that allows you to come over as a customer, have that 90% framework already out of the box, ready to go, but with the ability to refine the options, configurations that tailor to your business needs and your company's business needs around what transformations are needed to be done. What are the extra considerations that we need to take into account for? And you can tweak it just enough to where you've got the 90% picture. That 10% is what you can do to really tailor that street to be yours. So I'll pause for a sec, see if there's any questions, comments up to this point before I start talking about some of the supported platforms and integrations and what that looks like architecturally.
I see no questions in chat.
Then we'll
So
keep going. We've got plenty of time. Excellent. So let's talk about what are the supported platforms and integration, right? We have a plethora of different connectors across the board. Over the years, we've connected to over 120 different legacy ECM and data storage systems to include things like OpenText, FileNet, HP Trim, Documentum. But what we've really focused on the streets are the most common systems, right? So the legacy platforms that are most common we'll be able to showcase here in a sense, like Alfresca, Documentum, HP Trim, OpenText CS, SharePoint Online, network file shares are really where we leaned in to try to find where most customers are having your source systems that need to be transformed. In our target systems, same sort of concept, right? The modern cloud platforms that we're looking at for simple content repository. Most of the time, I'd say about 95% of the time, what we're seeing our customers move to, of course, is SharePoint Online, especially in the perspective of being ready to support Copilot integrations. But we also have connectors where there might be systems that need to still use Alfresca or the OpenText CS or the OpenText Cloud solution, as well as native integrations with capabilities of looking to set up and simplify deployments for user adoption thereafter. And what that means, that wide platform support, we're able to do in a migration, the capabilities to access multiple sources and seamlessly utilize the same path and framework into the next step of your adoption of your cloud content management structure, like the SharePoint online systems. So what does that look like? I'm going to showcase a little bit of the technical architecture. For those that are not familiar with Xillio platform, we truly are an ETL migration system. And over the years, we've been able to build what we call a unified content store, which acts as a liaison, sort of an A to B, let you massage, get insights, intelligence, and then eventually be able to point to your target systems. And on top of that, we've actually built a fantastic product called Noodle that supports and helps the adoption of tailored agentic-based agents using your Copilot Studio, something that we've had webinars on, and we'd love to talk more about if you're curious about how Xillio is using this decades of experience of metadata construct to feed and gain intelligence, sort of put a pair of glasses on your LLM models to support truly almost SLM experiences tailored to your systems. But we all know that in order to really feed the value of Copilot, well, you got to point it to the right aspects of your data. So when we're looking at the architecture of our platform, we have a migration street that can build the flows across the entirety of our process. So using those predefined source connectors, we build in and absorb into our Xillform migration platform that unifies the metadata and the massaging and any sort of discovery and transformation to put presentation of, what does the discovery look like? What are the content types that I'm looking for? What are the metadata pieces that I have? What do I need to add or remove from? Those are all predefined patterns you get as part of the migration street. And then the pre-established defined connectors to your target source platforms are on the other end of the architecture. So very simple. The pieces of it, we have connectors, we have accelerators, which are essentially predefined transformation components to help you accelerate the process of the migration. We have Copilot integration and automation orchestrations. It's a low-code builder platform that feeds into the unified content store. So like I mentioned before, a street is not a highway. You're not all forced to go in one main flow. You can refine the path that you follow. And of course, on top of that, we want to make sure you have full-scale reporting, auditability, insights from your discovery, your planning, the implementation, and the execution thereof. And last but not least, we do have a capability called Link Redirector that's part of these streets as well, where if you have hard-coded links within the content of your source system repository in the discovery and after the migration, the Link Redirector can act as a liaison to prevent any sort of business downtime or disruption due to broken links that resides within your content. So the components of the migration street, like I said, we got the connector framework, which is all that source destination. We've got the transformation engine, which are those smart rules to clean, optimize the data processing and massaging those validation capabilities, assuring that you've got the governance, mitigating that downtime, and that link redirecting and monitoring to build confidence in capabilities. And what does that look like, right? So if we're coming through from a migration street perspective, this is a perfect example of what we actually are pointing to. You have the ability out of the gate of building a new migration project of saying, what are the source systems that I want to select? Your Alfresco, your Documentum, your HB Trim, your SharePoint Online, your file system constructs. It's as simple as selecting the platform, pointing over to your next target system of either the Alfresco, either the OpenText, as well, of course, most common, which is the SharePoint Online. And by the way, we have a ton of other connectors that are in place to a huge swath of both source and destination systems. But what we've productized so far in the migration street is these key things that we're seeing across the business. If you and your organization have specific questions or they're not part of the migration street, that doesn't mean that we don't connect to it. It just means that we have to come through and use a different form of connector that we've already gotten built, and it's all API driven as a liaison between. So don't be dissuaded if you don't see your source or your destination as part of this process. Our platform can handle up to 120 different legacy platforms, and we have that functionality to help you and your organization be successful. So once you select the source and the destination, we're able to come through and build a couple of tweaks of out of the gate, what are we trying to refine of what is the flow generation? Is there any sort of advanced Mongo configurations that I need to take into consideration? What are the analytics that I want to have as part of this? You can tweak any of the configuration requirements and do some of the manipulation of the metadata. And then it's finalizing, validating, and implementing. What this does, our platform itself is extremely flexible, but we're building that scaffolding. So we have what's called flows as part of our outputs for each of the ETL stages of your migration. And this is that low code drag and drop aspects that we're going to pre-populate with the migration streets of the most common migration patterns. And we allow you to still refine and tweak what those pieces would look like as you're going through the iterations of your full discovery, full insights and analytics, having a full visibility of what is my content type? What are the data sources that I'm looking at? How much of this data has not been accessed for 100 years? Who knows? We provide all those sorts of intelligence and insights as part of the output of the flow. So during the discovery and the planning process of your migration, you have full confidence that number one, we found all your stuff. Number two, we understand your stuff. And number three, allows you to plan what sort of transformations are necessary to come through, implement, and execute those migrations. And then throughout, have that reporting of what's been done, what hasn't been done, what do we need to be due, what is an outlier, an abstraction. Anything you can imagine that you want to understand about your content during the migration, we bake that into our insights. So high level, that's what our technical side of the migration streets are. Are there any questions, comments up to this point before we kind of shuffle into the story of our business value and how we can help?
Yeah, I do have a question. You mentioned, Rich, that it's API driven.
Mhm.
Does that mean that you are never writing directly into, let's say, the core database of a system?
It's like this. With our content connectors, we want to be able to use an API abstraction layer from your source as well as from a loading perspective. If we're going to execute a migration into SharePoint, for example, SharePoint has a migration API that'll help pre-stage into Blob and absorb it securely with all the mapping into your platform. It's almost like an A to B to C type of migration. We're not actually having to host the binaries within our platform, but with our abstraction layer, we're able to use the APIs to call and understand your source content, perform any sort of insights, as well as the rules that are going to be executed as the migration for the transformation that will be done for renaming, rechanging, adding, massaging metadata, and then moving forward. So for us, it's not about having to, if you're moving a petabyte of data, that doesn't mean you need a petabyte of storage to support your Xillio platform. We're going to just make sure we understand said petabyte, break it down into chunks of what is simple and understandable and makes sense for your business to perform that migration. And since it is all API, it does allow very easily for multiple source or even multiple destinations to be managed within a singular project if you so wanted to. Does that kind of answer your
Okay.
question, sir?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? And by the way, this is a webinar, so we're not going to go over and do a drummed out long school demo or anything like that. But if there's any sorts of questions you'd like to dive deeper, I'd be more than happy to set some time up with you, your business, or your customers, if you're part of the partner group, and showcase exactly each of the steps, the phases, how our flows work, what the insight capabilities look like, and how that's going to go transform your business and make sure you've got a successful migration using our streets.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Over to the business side of things. This is well, the business people always like to say that, yeah, it's all about the business value, right? So the IT people just have to execute, and it's all about the business value. So why are we doing this? Digital transformation projects might be sexy. A migration project often is not a sexy project. It's often said that, a migration project, as a responsible person for a migration project, you will never get promoted, but you're likely to get fired if you don't do it well. So not the most sexy of projects. And so what we try to bring to the table is the predictability of projects like this, and having this 20 plus years of experience in lessons learned into this migration street. So the pitfalls that you are going to face, but you're not aware of yet. The predictability of the steps that we're actually going through. So understanding that you need to have your business people involved in the analytics and insight sessions. That if you have integrated systems into your source when you're migrating to a target, that the integrated system need testing. So you need to have test teams available. All that kind of things are part of our framework, and it allows for, speedier projects, faster time to value, as you call it in a nice way, much more predictable, and in the end with reduced risk and full compliance, obviously. So compliancy as in a full audit trail of everything that has happened. And often we see that organizations start coding stuff, but they forget about the audit trail and the whole reporting about it, right? And think about the whole framework of auditability and reporting if you need to build that from scratch. So that is a very big part of the business benefit that we are providing through the migration streets. Do we have one more slide, Rich?
We do indeed. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are the outcomes and return on investment for this is what we really try to bring to the table, and also to this webinar, is do it yourself as possible, but learn from all the learnings and mistakes from the past. Learn from cross industries as well, and avoid risks and have a faster time to market for your migration project. I think that's it. And maybe the next slide, if there are any more questions around this, happy to answer them.
One last thing I'd like to bring up, right? Because this, of course, is really focused on the migration streets and how we're helping our customers accelerate migrations. But one of the things I really want to reiterate about why getting out of that legacy content management that we're seeing so much buzz across every vertical, every industry, and every country, it's all geared around the AI adoption of LLMs. At the end of the day, when you're using something like a Copilot or pick your flavor GPT or pick your other sort of LLM, your content is what makes those so powerful and unique. So what we want to do, and what we're really partnering with all of our customers to help do, is accelerate that unification and exposure of your content, which is your company's gold, all that history, all that context, all that value, and put it in a simple means by which to present into your large language model hosting, your Copilot. So when it's talking about the why do I want to go over off of my legacy, file shares and move it to SharePoint Online? Sounds like it's not a lot of value. The value is that by coming through and helping accelerate that, we're not only unifying your content management and enriching your data and looking at all your metadata, we're building you the means by which to be AI ready. And that is something that's so important, huge focus from all businesses and from Microsoft. And by using our streets, we can help accelerate, securely, and confidently move your content into a way that exposes it to Copilot or any other LLM of your choice.
Well put, Rich. Awesome. So are there any more questions? Has Rich been so clear? Nobody? Then maybe the next slide. If you like to know more, if you like to see whether this is suitable for your situation, if you'd like to talk about what is AI readiness, feel free to schedule a call through our website or through this link. I think that concludes our session of today. Please fill out this survey. We would love your feedback and love to learn from this and make the content better for you guys. Thank you for attending, and wish you a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Rich. See you next time.